Guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to a new video. Hope you are enjoying your weekend, and on this Sunday I want to have a look at gold and to look at what are possible targets. What is now the scenario or the fundamental case for gold? If you like the content, please do me a favor, like, subscribe, click on the bell, click on all so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment, share the video with your friends if you think that's useful. Also feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are also in the description. And as you can see on my screen, I already wrote down 3 sentences for me that I'm not going to forget what I want to tell you. The first one is actually a fundamental one, and that is gold will never reach 5,000, right? Well, there is a case to be made that on the long run, gold is just going higher and higher over the decades. We also have seen that so far, but there's also a case to be made that gold will never reach 5,000. Why? Because most of the gold supply is being ruled and quote-unquote regulated by a handful of major banks in the States. I don't know exactly which banks, but I think one of them is JP Morgan, Bank of America, and another few. And the reason why that is that, let's say gold will go to $5,000. Gold is always seen as an inflation hedge or a safe haven. So what will that say about the economy, about maybe inflation, about what we can expect for the future if gold will really reach $5,000? In other words, if gold is going too high, then these parties can just dump gold on the market, the price goes down, and therefore kind of manipulate the price. But they have then, and let's say, kind of a barrier for society, because they are maybe afraid that if gold suddenly really spikes up to 3, 4, 5,000, that will create bank runs, maybe riots on the street, and I don't know what kind of weird scenarios you can think about. Situation in the real life, in the real economy, then must be pretty bad if gold will ever reach those tremendous high numbers. So there is a case to be made that gold will never reach that 5,000. From a technical chart perspective, we are looking at 2 big major tops. Of course, we had this huge wedge that is being created in 2020. In 2021, we broke out, we went to the top, and then eventually we topped out here at $2,070, also the exact same top here in August 2020. And that of course looks pretty ugly, and bears had exactly topped out at that same level. We all know what happened afterwards. We just completely went down all the way to $1,620-ish, and now we're pumping back up way over $1,900. Goes faster than you think. So yes, on one hand, this is a double top scenario, and if we are now going higher, we need to break it. If we are topping out again and going lower, then this becomes a major resistance, and then pack your bags. And I think gold is really going to dump, and we're going to see probably lower than the low that we put in here underneath 1600, because a triple top for gold is just super bearish. If I'm zooming out on the weekly, then you could also say, you know what, we know that commodities are just moving much slower, and we are creating this huge cup and handle pattern. It's a little bit ugly, but then you could say this is right now the handle that we are creating, and once we are breaking out, then we have a target. I think that is also approximately 5,000 measured from this cup and handle. But don't let yourself get mistaken, because this has been created since 2011, and it took 10 years to create only the cup, and then now more than 2 years to create the handle. So it will also then take years to reach that target. But that is, from a chart technical perspective, a possible scenario that we could reach. So maybe a double top, triple top, or the cup and handle. And of course, then there's the story about gold is an inflation hedge. Well, my question is that really the case? Because we started dumping down on the stock markets beginning of 2022, and you can also see that gold just went lower, and only in the end of the year went up a little bit. Eventually gold went out of the year flat. Inflation in most countries has been around 10, 15, or even 17 or 18%. So in that sense, it was not really an inflation hedge, because you want to see gold rise with the percentage of the inflation. So then gold should rise approximately 10 or 15%. Yes, it did it better than stocks because stocks overall went down approximately 20 to 30%. But it is not really then an inflation hedge because you didn't preserve your purchasing power. What did rally up is of course the dollar index. This is the big graph that we're using here on the daily always for the dollar index. There you could see that if you bought dollars, then you definitely had a good run to the upside. And also stated it already a few times on Twitter. Is this going to be the very first crisis where we will say, you know what, gold is not any longer a inflation hedge or safe haven, but the dollar is. And then we broke the cycle of 5,000 years where the gold was always a safe haven and an inflation hedge, but now the US dollar is that. I also have stated already many times before that I think that eventually we are going up, maybe creating a lower high, equal high, or even worse, take out this high, and then gold, stocks, and crypto will go down. Scenario that I'm looking out for the most is something that we have created here around 2000 and 2002. That is that box. We already looked at this many times before. So again, this is on the weekly, so this is a 2-year period where you're looking at, and there you can see that we just really made a gigantic bit of a distribution where the highs are just not far off from each other, and also in the factor of time there is just not so much space in between compared to other highs that were made when we had the run up. And then eventually you can see that the dollar cannot make a new high, then we are going down. That was also the end of the dot-com bubble. Stocks started to rally again, dollar went down. So I expect something similar also now for the dollar index. This is also just a very slow moving asset. I have a hard time believing that after or let's say the inflation now is coming down, after such a high inflation period the dollar just goes down again. We get a little bit of a roof kind of pattern, once up, once down, and then done. Usually this is something that zigzags a little bit, creates chaos in the market, traders getting shaking out, and then eventually we pick the move to the upside, to the downside. With that being said, I found an article that I really want to share with you. We're talking about what are potential targets for gold. This article came out 22 of December in 2022, so that is approximately a month ago. And some analysts gave their outlook for 2023, and they always see the most ridiculous prices coming by. Some people are truly expecting $4,000 for gold. I do not see that happen at all. But also this analyst says, I expect something between $2,500 and $4,000 for gold, which I also find absolutely ridiculous because between $2,500 and $4,000 is 60% difference. So if that is really what these analysts think, then I think they should pick a different job, because this is not only a huge gap, but like I said, the $4,000 is also just completely unrealistic, knowing that gold usually goes up year over year, somewhere between 5 or 10, a very good year, 15%, and then drops down again, just a bit like the stock market. So if we are breaching here the 2070, then I definitely want to see higher and a retest, and then we could go higher. If we bounce here again at 2070, we're going down. Pack your bags. Actually I also stated on Twitter that the price where we are right now, I think this is a good moment to retrace a little bit, because we just breached the golden pocket, but you don't want to see this thing now moving higher and higher, because we're just running out of steam, and then you get the exact same what we had before. There's no steam left anymore to break the barrier of 2070, and we're going lower, and I think it can be very, very ugly. Now, I said this also many times before, is that I have a gold and silver portfolio, miners, and if we breach it or we break at this point again, then I will definitely sell off a huge part of my portfolio, because whatever then the force or the narrative is it the main banks or countries or certain scenario, whatever, and we're going lower, then I think this is a super hard barrier for gold. I'm also so far a little bit disappointed when it comes down to inflation or safe haven, because let's be honest, economically the world looks pretty bad with high inflation, supply chain shortages, with the war in Ukraine. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and then you would be thinking that gold will be already much higher because it is safe haven. In other words, how much more terrible stuff do we need to see for gold to move higher? And that is something that somehow it just keeps on playing in the back of my mind, that I think, yeah, I don't know if we can create enough momentum to reach that 2070. So I will keep a close eye on this level for the next 6 months. I'm very curious what you guys think. Do you think we're going to breach it? Do you think we maybe first need to cool off a little bit and then we are going to attack it? Do you think we're going sideways from now, since it's quite a slow market? Let me know in the comments. And of course you would also do me a favor if you would like and subscribe and click on the bell, click on all so you don't miss future notifications, and feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Those links are also in the descriptions. I update you there multiple times per day. Enjoy your Sunday, enjoy the rest of the weekend. See you guys tomorrow again at the charts where we are going to look at what we can expect for the rest of the week. Thank you guys so much. See you next time. Bye bye.